of the in 3 months, the end of the world, what would you do? 3 months. December 21, 2012. Would you quit school? Would you quit work? Absolutely. What would you do? But the question is, what would you do with your life? Would you warn anybody? How radical, how fanatical would you be? What would you tell people? What would it be? But see, unless you've lived in a bubble somewhere, you know that supposedly in December 21, 2012, it's the end of the world. It's all over. You only have 3 months. But the amazing thing is, I was reading a little bit about, they were talking to some of the Mayan elders that when they were looking at that calendar, and they said anthropologists visited the temple site and they read inscriptions and make up stories about the Maya. But they do not read the signs correctly. It's just their imagination. Other people write about prophecy in the name of Maya. They say this world will end in December 2012. The Mayan elders are angry about this. You see, they say the world will not end, but it will be transformed. We're no longer going to live in the world of the fourth son, but we're not yet in the world of the fifth son. This is an in-between time, a time of transition. As we pass through transition, there are colossal, global convergence of economical, of environmental destruction, social chaos, war, and ongoing changes in the earth. He continues, humanity will continue, but in a different way. Material structures will change. From this, we'll have the opportunity to be more human. We are living in the most important era of the Mayan calendar and prophecies. All the prophecies of the world, all the traditions are converging now. This is not a time for games. The spiritual idea of this era is action. We are disturbed. We can't play anymore. Our planet can be renewed or it can be ravaged. Now is the time to awaken and take action. Everyone is needed. You're not here for no reason. Everyone here has an important purpose. This is hard, going to be a hard time, but a special time. We have the opportunity for growth. But you must be ready for this moment in history. You see, according to Matthew, it says, no man knows the day. No man knows the hour. But we know the times and we know the seasons. We know what's going on in this world. If you look around this world is full of trouble. This world is full of chaos. This world is full of hatred. This world is full of envy and strife and all kinds of situations. You see, the world is coming to an end. Things are wrapping up. The world is changing like we have never seen it. But you see, the next 3 days is about a spiritual awakening. It's time to shake yourself. It's time to get out of the me only or me first attitude. It's time to break the religious trance and just being a part of a religion now. It's time to detox yourself. You see, detox means to process or to purge all the poisons out of your system, whether it's real or whether it's perceived. Now let me just borrow a quote from the mind. Now is not a time for games. The spiritual idea of this era is action. We are disturbed. We can't play anymore. Our lives can be renewed or they can be ravaged. Now is the time to awaken and take action. Everyone is needed. You're not here for no special reason. Everyone is here for a purpose. The time is hard, but it's going to be special. You have the opportunity for growth. You have the opportunity to make history. What are you going to do with detox? What are you going to do? It's up to you. Are you going to be committed? Are you going to be committed? You know what? In this building, you can change your life. You can become committed. There's people here that can become prayer warriors. There's people here that can become soul winners. There's people here that can become praisers. There's people here that can become worshipers. What are you going to do? You're at the time of decision. The time is now. There's no better place to detox. What's your decision? What are you going to do? Sister Kelly, roll the tape. friends from Northgate. Put your hands together and welcome Hands of Praise tonight as they bring. Every one of us have a story. All of our stories are different. But every story is important. So tonight, I want you to lend an ear for the next few moments and listen to a story about how grace changed the life of one young man.
Take a look at my life and realize, 'cause I've been brought me from. And I need to be honest with you. It's a little bit different for me to do this now. I'm not used to the man I used to be before. So to lock and to load and to come out here to show you this is a little hard for me, and I want you to know that up front.
Come on now.
Because I'm not necessarily proud of the way I used to be. But I want you to know where God has brought me from. Can you understand that a little bit? Can you relate to that a little bit? You see, because realistically, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice where I was born. It was a place called Oakland, California, where they're known more for their drugs and for their murders and for their gangs than anything else. You know, I really didn't have a choice to be born to the parents I was born to. My dad was half black and half Portuguese, and my mom was German and Irish and half American Indian. I used to tell the ladies I'm just 31 flavors. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice when my mom kicked my dad out when I was 4 years old. And I remember being at that window in Oakland in that old beat up house looking down as my dad drove away on his motorcycle. And I was crying because, like every little boy, I wanted my dad. But I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice that my mom had to work 3 jobs to be able to provide for the family. And my sisters, who one was 6 years older than me and one was 4 years older than me, were supposed to be watching me. But they weren't. So at age 6 years old, I found it more at home to be out on the streets than to be in an empty house. Because really, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice on what school that I went to. The school that I went to was 98% of African American descent. And I may not look like it now, but I was a little white boy. And I don't think it was really an ethnic dispute of any measure. I just think when there's only a couple of these and there's a lot of those, that kids are mean. You know what I'm saying? The one that does not belong seems to get picked on. And so they had a game at lunchtime called Catch Gill. And I used to have to run, and I would duck and dodge, and I would go all over the place. And you know, and guess what? Well, the only time I could get a break is when I stood next to the yard duty teacher. I'd get my wind back, and then here we go again. But I really didn't have a choice. You know, but some of the kids thought it would be fun to play the game after school. And they would be waiting. And the only problem with that was there was no yard duty teacher for me to get a rest. So I would run as fast as I could. You catch me? I would run as fast as I could, and I would jump over things, and I would jump over fences, and I was real familiar with my neighborhood because that's where I spent most of my time. Running, jumping, climbing, any fence, any roof, razor wire, barbed wire, didn't matter. If I couldn't go over it, I'd go under it. Because that's what I did as a kid. And so I would get chased home, and I would run, and I would dart through this house and dart through that backyard and go across the railroad tracks and run across this 4-lane highway underneath the BART tracks and go up to my house and run up the steps and run inside and shut the door. And take a breath. Say, I made it. But the interesting thing is eventually they figured out that nobody was home. So it was real easy after a while that when I did run into the house, they would run in right after me. And so what I did in my little 7-year-old mind, and kids, I don't recommend this, is I remember that my dad left a sawed-off shotgun in a cabinet in the dining room. So I thought the answer was to set up a ladder, and when they chased me into my house, I would run up the stairs, run through the door, run up the ladder, and grab that gun. So this particular time I was running, and I ran down, and I'd run up the stairs, and I ran there, and I jumped, and I ran up the ladder, and I came to that gun, and I came to that place, and I pointed, and they turned around. He warned you that there would be some stuff going on today. Did he not? And there was chaos, and there was things that was going on, and I can go on and tell you a bunch of stories and a bunch of things. How at 5 years old was the first time I tried marijuana because my sisters were downstairs and they were smoking it, and one of their friends said, "Give the little man some." And at 10 years old, my mom started to sell methamphetamines to make ends meet, and her boyfriend sold marijuana, so I quickly realized that I can sell the marijuana and snort the methamphetamines. And I wept when I saw that young lady being transformed by meth, because I lived it, and I know how bad it hurts, and I know how quick it destroys, and I know how it can ruin your life. But I didn't have a choice. Let me tell you, youngsters, let me tell some of you kids, it drives me nuts when kids from suburban that have pretty decent houses and they have households that are trying to provide for them, and their dad is still around, and they try to act like a little thug because they think it's cool. There's nothing cool about being a thug. There is nothing cool about sporting your hat sideways because you think it looks good. There is nothing cool about that. I didn't have a choice. As life went on, I got more and more involved in drugs and drinking. I was introduced to pornography at like age 10. I learned how to climb up the pole, Brother Hudson, and hook it up myself. Because I liked adventure. Little by little, more and more things start to unfold. Then at age 15, my mom said, "I can't handle you no more. You have to go live with your dad." I didn't even have a relationship with him. I didn't even really know him. I found out years later that it wasn't because my mom wanted to give me up. It was because she didn't have a place to stay anymore. So living with Dad was kind of different because, I knew what I knew, and now there's not weed and there's not drugs readily available, but my dad did use, and so I would break in his room and steal his stuff. But of course, he was a little bit sly. He would make little booby traps, and every time he would come home, I'd wonder, how did he find out this time? Always worried, always wondering. Then he'd tell me one day we're moving to Santa Rosa. doesn't mean anything to you, huh? You guys like the country out here. We moved into a shack and there was cows across the street. I was so mad. I was so furious. But my dad and my mom they're both from Santa Rosa. So there was a lot of cousins there. A lot of family. And I described how my parents were messed up. It wasn't accidents. They came from families that were messed up. And so I got with my cousins and started doing this again and doing that again and selling drugs again and selling cocaine and selling crack and selling methamphetamines and doing all these different things. And the cycle went on and on. And eventually I got in trouble for stolen motorcycles. Imagine that. And I had to go to jail, and by now I'm in my 20s and I'm in this jail and nothing seems to be going right and nothing seems to be going wrong. And you know, now that I read the Bible, I relate to some people in the Bible, you know, and I know we hear them ministered about all the time, but blind Bartimaeus is kind of like my running dog. You know what? I mean, he's kind of like, because I relate to him because he's kind of like I was. Because I was blind to everything I was doing. I just made it look real good. I really couldn't see where I was going. I couldn't see what I was doing or see where I was going. But I just made it look appealing. And the paralytic that bound to a cot, you know, I kind of was like him because he didn't have a choice. He was born that way. Blind Bartimaeus didn't have a choice. He was born that way. He was just born blind. It wasn't really his fault. And that's kind of how I was. I felt like I was just born this way. I didn't have a choice. When I finally got out, and it seemed like forever because they changed my release date like 6 times. And I just thought, man, this is just home. This is where I'm going to have to live. And I met guys in there that would leave and come back in a little while. And I started seeing, my stuff is real. This stuff is real. People really like coming in here. I would talk to them and say, man, why are you back already? You know what? It's easier to live in here than it is out there. That's the mentality out there. But I finally got out and I had no place to go. The only clothes I had were the clothes I went to jail with. And over that long time, they seemed to have lost them. So guess what they did? They made me leave in county blues. And you know, I had connections in the laundry room, so I had some nice pants, but they took those from me and they gave me some ripped up, tight pants that barely fit with painted yellow pockets that said NDCF. National Detention Facility. Correction Facility. And then they gave me this blue shirt that had it painted on the back as well. And one of my cousins came to pick me up. I didn't have no place to go, no money. He gave me some money. Said you could stay at my place. And this girl that he used to talk to met some other girl getting their nails done. I know you ladies love to get your nails done. Stay away from the jail. It's not real, I'm telling you. And so she brought this friend over. I'd only been out 11 days. And she was fine. Long red hair, green eyes. You know, and I've been locked up for a year or so. So, I mean, I was doing 1,000 setups a day, 1,000 push-ups a day. And back then, I didn't know much about modesty, so I never wore a shirt. So I was just kind of looking at her, smiling. And she kept telling me, why are you smiling so much? And I said, no reason. The truth was, listen to me, young ladies. She was telling me everything I needed to know about her to tell her what she needed to hear so I can get her to do what I wanted her to do. Did you hear me, young ladies? She was telling everything to hear. To tell her what she needed to hear so I can get her to do what I wanted her to do. Ladies, when you meet a guy that's out there, I don't care how nice he seems, I don't care how much he smiles, you don't tell him everything about yourself. Because all you're doing is giving him everything he needs to tell you what you need to hear. And you think this guy is the perfect one. You think this guy is the one that has the answers. You think this one is the one that cares for you and that loves you and that'll be there for you. When in reality, all he wants you to do is what he wants you to do. And you learn that stuff on the streets. And you implement it every day in life when you're out there. But there was something a little unique about this girl. She didn't cuss. It's like, I kind of like that. She didn't drink. She didn't do drugs. I kind of like that. I was like, wow, I never had one of these. We started a date. We won't go into details. But I enjoyed it. She didn't do those things. I enjoyed it because she had something that I didn't have. And I went through life feeling like I didn't have a choice. And I just made the best out of whatever was there. And I did the best out of what I had. I made the most out of what I learned. You hear me? And this girl quickly figured out that I wasn't necessarily faithful. Commitment was a word that I never learned. So she realized, and in conversation, I realized that she was a pastor's daughter. Know what we worldly guys say about church girls. You know what we say, ladies? We say, get them behind closed doors. You brought me here to be real, and I'm just telling you the truth. Okay, but this young lady had crisis in her life at around 15, 16. And so she left the church, and she went out there and tried to make her own way. But for whatever reasons, she thought I was worth a little more than whoever else she was with in the past. And she thought I was worth enough to try to tell me about the church she came from. And I kind of laugh about it because I don't know if she knew that she can't get me to be faithful unless she gets me to God or, But she was smart enough to know that. And she started telling me about this church thing, and I'm not really tripping too much about it. But as it went on, she told me that, hey, I want you to go with me, it's a little drive, it's about an hour from here, and I want you to go, and all right, whatever. I smoked weed all the way there. I like to drive high. It was funny when that brother was talking about what would you do if the world was going to end in 60 days or whatever it was. You know what? Back then, I would have did the same thing I was doing. Because I didn't have a choice. she finally talked me into going to this church. And I walked in this church and I sat down and I was sitting there, and you know how you guys are. You guys get a little crazy, a little wild, a little excited. And I'm just kind of kicking back watching you guys, and I'm thinking to myself, man, these people are crazy. That's what I said. Some of you visitors said the same thing, huh? Don't lie. These people are crazy. But see, I related everything to getting high. So I said, they're acting kind of loaded. They're acting kind of loaded. But I knew enough to know that they weren't high on drugs. So in my quest to be loaded, I said, I wonder if this is the high I've been looking for. I've tried everything else. I've done everything else. I've been a part of everything else. And I'm looking for something. Is this the one? Is this the thing? Is this that Jesus stuff that I kind of heard about here and there, but never really believed in it? Is this it? And I didn't know, and it was amazing, because as I was in there and I started feeling the power of God and my legs started shaking like this, and I stopped it and I was like, hey. I was trying to tell the Lord, hey, you know me, man, come on. We're not gonna get down like this. No. And so I stopped this leg and this leg started shaking. And I stopped them both. And I said, hey. I was so disrespectful to the Lord. I said, hey, you know I got loaded before I came in here. Come on, man. Don't mess with me. And the next thing you know, I start feeling it, and tears start streaming down my face. And I start feeling the power of God. And I know you felt it in here, visitor. Let me just tell you what it was. It was the power of God reaching out for you. Reaching out for your life. Letting you know. And that day, the first day in my entire life, September 10th, 1995, I had a choice. For the first day of my whole life, I had a choice. It was kind of like blind Bartimaeus. He never had a choice until he got in the presence of Jesus, and Luke said, you can receive your sight right now. I'm telling you, if you're here, you got a choice tonight. You don't have to be bound by addictions any longer. You don't have to be bound by emotional turmoil any longer, because the presence of God is here, and you have a choice. You don't have to walk down, going from situation to situation, and ending up in jail or ending up in relationships that are all jacked up. You got a choice. You got a choice tonight. I don't know about you, but that excited me. I got excited. For the first time in my life, I had a choice. I was on the earth for 25 years, and it never seemed like I had a choice until that day. If you made it to Detox tonight, you have a choice. You don't have to go back to the same things you came in here with. You don't have to go back to those emotional situations any longer. Hallelujah. I don't know about you, but that excites me. It's like the paralytic, he was bound to his bed. Maybe you came here bound to a situation. Maybe you came here bound to a relationship. Maybe you are bound because you've been abused. And trust me, church, visitor, friend, I left a whole bunch of stuff out. I'm not belittling what you've been through. But I do want to tell you that you have a choice. Maybe you can't relate to blind Bartimaeus, or you can't relate to the paralytic, but maybe your situation was drastic and it was kind of like the lady that was caught in the very act of adultery. And you know, so many times, and especially in the church world, we're so quick to judge and we're so quick to say, you know what, I'm not sure about that one, and she looks a little promiscuous, but you don't know that her daddy abandoned her when she was just a little girl. You don't know that her mom kept dating other men and they would try to mess with her and move on her, and her mom slapped her because she was trying to pick up on her mom's boyfriends when they were really picking up on her. And now going from man to man to man, she finds herself in this relationship, and here these ones come and drag her into the street half clothed and drag her there in front of Jesus. And her life was bound, and her life was full of fornication, her life was full of adultery. And to us, sometimes we think that's hopeless. Not when you get in the presence of Jesus. When you get in the presence of Jesus, he tells your accusers, you that are without sin, you cast the first stone. And one by one the stones drop, and they all walk away. And now it's just you and Jesus. I wonder if somehow, some way, you could get just you and Jesus tonight and realize that you have a choice, and that he's here to deliver you, and he's here to set you free, and he's here to bring peace in your life. Or you know, the paralytic had a bunch of friends. They carried him. And maybe you're saying, you know what, I can't relate to that guy because I ain't got no friends that would try to get me in the presence of Jesus. All my friends do dope. All my friends do drugs. And you met that girl. That's how you got out. You met some girl and she took you to church, and that's what happened to you, but that doesn't fit my situation. I want you to... And I was thinking about that before Detox. And you know what the Lord told me? He said, look around. Brother Hudson likes to keep things in order. This church has been torn up. This church has cut holes in barrels, in 50-gallon barrels, have put hazardous signs all over the place, have outreached this neighborhood, has torn the roof off of this place so that you can be in the presence of Jesus. I want you to know that you have friends here at this church. You have people that love you here at this church. They're willing to take their vacations to tear this place up. They're willing to put in time to tear this place up. They're willing to make a way for you to get in the presence of Jesus so that you can have a choice. Musicians, would you come? Would you stand? Would you realize that you have a choice? Would you realize that there's a church family here that loves you and have torn this whole place up? They rode a motorcycle on the platform, for crying out loud. They tore this place up so that you can be close to Jesus. Would you allow him to move on you? Maybe you spent your whole life not understanding all the drama, all the issues. But I came to tell you that it doesn't matter what the issues are. But Jesus wants to give you a choice tonight. Are you willing? Are you ready? He's not done yet. As the praise singers sing, I wonder if you would make your way to the front of this building. That day on September 10th, 1995, I walked to the front of the altar and I said, Lord, I don't know about tomorrow, but I know right now I'm willing to do anything. And I got down on my knees and I got filled with the Spirit of God. And that day I got delivered from every drug I ever did. I got delivered from alcohol. I got delivered from substance abuse. I got delivered from all the drama. Woo!